In November 2009, we are not only commemorating great achievements of European history, like the fall of the Berlin Wall 20 years ago, but we are also witnessing an important moment for European integration. As you know, the Treaty of Lisbon has finally been ratified by all 27 member states and will soon enter into force. After having removed the last hurdles, we are just about to move into what I believe can be a new era for the enlarged European Union. A European Union whose people and member states decided to make it more efficient, more democratic, and give it more clout in the world. A Europe of freedom and solidarity. A Europe whole and free. And it is important to remind ourselves that this Europe would not have been possible without the events of 20 years ago that we commemorate today, the lifting of the Iron Curtain and the fall of the Berlin Wall. It will not have been possible without the commitment and the dedication of the people who made history happen. Those men and women on the streets who form opposition to totalitarian governments, express their disenchantment, called for democratic change, built up pressure, mobilized others, and spilled their wish for freedom across borders. This was also a great appeal for Europe. Those resistant movements in many parts of the former Soviet bloc were in fact calling for coming back to Europe of their countries. Those behind the Iron Curtain did not want to wait for a miracle. They created the miracle themselves through the whole of Central and Eastern Europe. People in Poland, the great Solidarność movement, Hungary, when it started the people to flee non-democratic regimes to come to open societies, Czechoslovakia, the Baltic countries, East Germany, Bulgaria, Romania. Those peoples, they brought down the Iron Curtain. It really started back in 1980 when Solidarność was set up. The victory of Solidarność was the first domino that fell and led to the collapse of communism. It triggered a real chain reaction towards democratic change in the whole region. I deeply admire all those courageous individuals in their search for freedom. Let me pay tribute in particular to those many thousands of Europeans who suffered or even paid with their lives for their ideals. Let me pay tribute also to the policy makers who contributed to the changes that became irreversible. Today, on the 9th November 2009, we celebrated the 20th anniversary of the fall of the Iron Curtain and the Berlin Wall, all over Europe, and tonight in Berlin. This is the occasion to open the floodgates of memories and recognize with pride everything that has been achieved. In 1989, the light of hope started painting a bright future, not only for the countries in Central and Eastern Europe, but for Europe as a whole. I personally experienced this light of hope when in my own country, Portugal, we had a revolution already in '74. Having grown up in a dictatorship myself where freedom was an unknown word, I'm still truly moved by the events of '89, when borders stopped being a barrier and when freedom returned. For me, the packing of holes in the Berlin Wall in November '89 echoed the music of freedom that I had got used to listening to only a few years before. For me, in 1989, it was not just the wall that collapsed, but the world of the ideology of oppression. The Iron Curtain had cut Europe into two. Its dismantling in 1989 was the start of making Europe once again. In 1989, Europe was embraced by freedom. The past 5 years, the Commission, and I personally, have spared no effort into making this enlarged European Union work. And I'm proud of the Commission's contribution to make the European dream of freedom, solidarity, prosperity, security for all come true. In the meantime, we have also turned our eyes towards the southeast, The European perspective for the Western Balkans has clearly helped to stabilize the region and has been a driver of democratic and economic reforms. Now we have to work hand in hand to tear down the last remains of the wall that still persists in Europe, the walls of prejudices, of populism, of protectionism. Let's remove those walls brick by brick, like the long chain of dominoes that will topple tonight in Berlin. The European Union has a crucial role to play in overcoming walls through cooperation, by breaking down borders and creating opportunities.